Hello and welcome to a Christmas special of question and answers on the paranormal from So It's Say It's Haunted. So over the last few weeks I've been asking on social media about any questions you have about the videos or about paranormal in general, and I've got quite a few questions. They're not all from Fiona, but Fiona, thank you for all your questions. There's rather a lot of them. So I'm going to start this off with Fiona's first question. Are your investigations more science-based? If so, what do you use to investigate the locations or to help the investigations? Yeah, I guess they are more science-based. I mean, Dave is an electrician. Phil was a police officer when we were doing it. So we were more, I guess, open-minded. A lot of our investigations, obviously, they were done with like temperature gauges, EMF meters, the general sort of stuff you'd have, but we had sort of like infrared cameras. But I guess it was the more scientific tool we used was our brain. We didn't judge everything straight off as a ghost. So we looked at what could be causing the door to pop open. We looked at one location where the doors were opening up sort of 3 o'clock in the morning and they'd swing open. After looking around, and Dave, the one who spotted it, it was the radiators were turning on and getting hot, and that was causing the temperature around the door to change, and that was popping the door open. It was just the expansion. So things like that is what we looked at. Question 2. What do I think of spirit boards? Ouija boards, spirit boards, all this stuff around tables. I am skeptical. I did have a experience when I was at school, which I probably shouldn't really go on here about, with a Ouija board and a girl that passed away in a year. But I think let's go right. Ouija boards were made as a toy. You gotta remember, they were a toy. They were kids' toys. So how they ended up becoming this big paranormal stuff and being used on investigations and taken seriously, the idea was to trick people into believing you're talking to the dead. That was the idea of the game, and so that's where it comes from, and that's what you have to remember. If you ever use a Ouija board or anything like that, they were designed as a game, not something truly to connect with spirits with. What do I think about other stuff? Yeah, we've used on our investigations the put your hands around the table, but what we did, I gave them all copper rods, so you couldn't push the glass around, so you can only touch the glass with the copper rod. And copper's the best conductor apart from gold, and the glass didn't move. So we'll see. It is open-minded, and other people use them and completely convinced by them. Next one, I jump down to Chris. Chris asked, do I believe in ghosts? Really straightforward question, isn't it? Do I believe in ghosts? No. Years ago I probably would have said a straight no. I believe there are things out there that I can't explain, yet my family background has always come from ghost stories. So there's loads of ghost stories in my family. And the part of Chris's question, another one was, what got me interested into ghosts? And I think that goes back to my first sort of spooky thing, and that was actually at Abbots Hall School. So the story goes, I was in infants at Abbots Hall, and for some reason I'd been asked to stay behind during lunch break, and maybe I had a lot of asthma when I was a kid and spent a lot of time in hospital, but so I may not have been able to go out and play. So it could have been foggy or anything like that. Actually, it wasn't foggy, and I'll tell you why it wasn't foggy in a minute. So I had to sit in the classroom on my own while everyone else is out playing outside, and on the wall where I was sitting, I could see the shadow along the side, and I've been doing sort of like shadow hands on the wall. When I look back up, I see this figure standing over me on the shadow. This figure was standing over me, right behind me where I was sitting. Absolutely freaked me out. So much so, I mean, it was sunny, that's why I know it wasn't foggy, so because the sun was coming through the window. the next day I refused to go to school, completely convinced. That night I'd had nightmares where I'd been locked into the school, all because of this figure that had seen me. That's what triggered me into start looking into ghosts, and listening to my nan and granddad's ghost stories that were really interesting. It was quite a lot of real spooky stories that they told me back then about what had happened in their house, and I'll probably go into another Q&A or something like that if you want to hear about that. So that's what really got me into that sort of thing about, are ghosts real or if not? Okay, another one from Fiona. What is working with Most Haunted really like? I had a very short experience with Most Haunted. It is Decacor's Ghost Towns and Living with the Dead 2 on Living TV. Done a lot of research for Living TV, or the production companies behind them that were doing the shows, and same with Most Haunted. I think I can sum up the whole experience of all reality TV shows is that it's entertainment. It is just pure entertainment. I did walk off of one particular show because I disagreed with what a certain famous spiritualist, who's no longer with us now, wanted me to do. I wasn't prepared to have someone read out all my history reports, all my stuff of ghost stories that I'd researched over the years, and with paranormal had done investigations in, and he or they had taken all that, and he knew all that information up front. For me, that wasn't correct. Lucky enough, ironically, Throat Council refused them filming permission from where they were going to be doing it in the end, so that never happened. But my relationship with Ghost Towns sort of ended about there because I wasn't prepared to do that. The other one was obviously Living with the Dead, when I was doing all the filming up at Fobbing. That's where I met sort of like Ian Lawman and all that sort of stuff. Again, patchy relationship. You do all this research work, because I wasn't really prepared to go on camera. You're relying on other people to put all that information over correctly. I did have, again, we weren't on the same page of way things should be done. So again, it was another sort of short experience of working with them. With Most Haunted, they very much knew my opinion of Cold House Fault. And this is the thing, and it bleeds into a very long story, that I believe that places can only be haunted by people that actually existed in real life or have actually died at that place. And that wasn't really true of the story that Most Haunted were trying to put over about Cold House Fault. Okay, question 4. Have I ever caught anyone out in a paranormal lie? Okay, yeah. When I set up for Paranormal, we brought on 2 mediums on board, which turned out to be Stephen E. Lane. Right? Absolutely brilliant, fantastic. The difference was with them was that I knew the history of a location that could not easily be researched, and I would take them to a location where they didn't know anything about, and they would pick up on things that I knew only myself knew, and maybe the creator of a museum knew somewhere. But they were able to pick up on things and even pinpoint rooms where I tried to trick them. I did always try to trick my mediums to make sure they weren't lying. And I think I'd got through roughly about 10 before I really set up for paranormal that I just met, and they weren't what they were meant to be. And I caught them out in some big lies. Also, there was one on the Most Haunted forum when the TV show was very big. A medium there was caught up in a very, very big scandal, where they'd used something before. I'm really trying. I don't get done for libel. I'm going to keep saying allegedly. Allegedly had made up, looked up the history and fell foul of picking up on the made up name and used it as they've been possessed by that made up name. There was another thing that happened with Kirkstone Pass. Again, that's probably another time for another full video really on that. Again, that is all to do with these well-known mediums, and there's a lot of them that have pulled the walls over people's eyes for a long time. And there used to be or still is, a website called Bad Skeptics or Bad Psychics? One. So, and they used to expose these fake mediums and spiritualists on there, and great evidence they would produce as well to show that these people were lying, from just things like looking off of hiring out funerals and going through people's credit card bookings, getting names and all that sort of stuff. There's ways that they could do it all. What's the longest time an investigation has taken? The actual night does basically tend to happen overnight. Yeah, fobbing we did have a couple of nights because there's a lot of different locations. Normally we arrive about 7 and we finish about 6 in the morning. We did Absolute Radio #1 Golden Square. We got there at 8 and we left there at 8 in the morning, so we investigated over all night. But generally we will, for me, the investigation starts well before that. So I just posted a video about St Clair's Hall. St Clair's Hall, I'd spent weeks down at Folk Museum because it's a really difficult place to investigate the history, and it meant me going through a lot of old microfilms. It meant me going through a lot of old books and documents, and Folk Museum were brilliant, and I had access to the back rooms. It's one reason why I'm really keen on getting a lot of the stuff at Folk Museum put into a bigger location, that we can have access to a lot of the stuff that's up there. It's just brilliant. But when it comes to the microfilming stuff, I think now a lot of it is going to be transferred onto digital. It's going to be easier to research stuff, going back hundreds of years of newspapers and that sort of stuff. But so that took weeks to investigate, just up to that part. So after doing all the background research, what I'd do, I'd visit the location on my own. I'd do all the background tests. So I'd take all the temperatures in all the rooms we're going to investigate. I'd take all the EMF readings. I'd check out for things like the power lines, power cables, anything like that were going to interfere with the investigation. So it normally would take around about 3 weeks to prep for investigation, and to say it could be one night, or on other occasions like fobbing it was 2 nights. Okay, I'm not going to name this one, but I like this question. Oh crap, I don't want to delete. Come back. Where's it gone? No! I will find it again. Hold on. It's on my iPad. Found it at last. Only took like 10 minutes. Okay. I understand you're a local councillor. Should you be spending your time doing better things for the community than investigating a lot of old rubbish? Yeah, I am currently a local councillor. No, we are allowed to have our own interests and have our own lives. Local councillors, a lot of them, all of us, have full-time jobs doing something else, unless they're retired people. So as a local councillor, you have your full-time job, and then you have your local councillor's responsibilities and what you do. I choose to do these videos. I choose to do making stuff out of logs and resin. as well as playing Fortnite. I do a lot of other things apart from being a local councillor. You know, I'm a husband and I'm a dad as well. I do that in there as well. So should I be spending my time? I spend a hell of a lot of time being a local councillor. I've got a year and whatever left in the position before I'm up for election again. Yeah, I just think we're allowed to do other things outside of that. Thank you for that question. I'm going to jump down to a couple of other questions. This is from Fiona again. What do you think about demonology? Not a lot. Honestly, it's not something I've really considered much. I don't know if that's wrong with me. Yeah, it's an interesting question, Fiona. Yeah, definitely. It's something I don't really delve down into, to be truthful. I know if, you talk to religious people, they think that ghosts are sort of demons and evil spirits. Yeah, it's, yeah, I don't know. I've not gone down that enough. Sort of the only sort of demons I don't really know about is like watching like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, really, and things like that. But yeah, it's not something I really consider because I don't think there's a lot of evidence based on that. I know we talk about possession and that sort of stuff. We look at the results of The Exorcist and like poltergeists and all that sort of stuff. But it's not something it's not something that I've had to be able to go and meet someone who said they're possessed by a demon. And I think until you get that chance to do that, actually, I'm just going to retract that. In my job, I have actually met several people that say they are possessed by a demon or that they're being hunted by demons. But they tend to be having a lot of mental health problems and breakdowns and psychosis. So it's hard to investigate that when there's something else going on in their life that could be the cause of it, if you know what I mean. Okay, what's the furthest destination you've travelled to for an investigation? With the team, with Thurrock Paranormal, not far at all, because it's all been Thurrock based, apart from Eastbury Manor. Oh no, that's a lie. We went to London to Absolute Radio, so that's probably the furthest we've been as a full team. On the other one, we've done a manor house on my own in Lake District, and I can't remember what it's called. When me and Sam went away and we travelled down to Cornwall, we went into Jamaica Inn and we stayed there. That night I did set up some cameras around the place as an unofficial investigation. But things like that, I've done a lot of those sort of places up in Lake District. Monkhouse Castle, I've been around and done filming and all that. So Levens Hall in Lake District we've done as well. So yeah, it's quite a far distance. I know there's some really famous local places I'd like to go. Or in the country I'd like to go to, but I've been down to sort of like Kent and all that with other people, but not as far paranormal. Okay, so this question is from Joe. Have you ever been somewhere that has given you a feeling of sadness, or somewhere that has made you leave due to unexplained bad feelings? Yes, definitely. A local place that is the Bell Inn in Horndon, the alleyway down there, definitely gave me a really bad feeling. Somewhere that I don't think I've ever returned to down there. I don't think I've ever walked back down that pathway next to the building. Yeah, I felt very unwelcome now. Very lot of angry feelings, atmosphere that I could feel around that bit. Bit weird. I do tend to pick up on sort of atmospheres. I guess that's one thing what a lot of people do. They can walk into a building and say, oh, I feel sad here or something like that. But it's knowing, if you know the background to a place, you can gather a preconception in your mind. I'll tell you something. After the Hillsborough disaster, I went to Anfield, and you walked into Anfield and it was empty apart from this big long line of people queuing around the stadium, and all these flowers laid out. As you walked into Anfield, it was this real deep feeling of sadness there, and you get that in churches. Now I find churches quite interesting because it takes St Margaret's Church in Stamford. You can walk in there and it could be a funeral and everyone feels really, really sad. You walk in there and the atmosphere of a wedding, when it's a wedding, is very, very happy. So you do pick up, as humans, we do pick up on that emotional atmosphere around us. And I think that when something happens, it can leave that imprint in that area of something real negativity or real positive. It's like, you walk around Stonehenge, you can almost feel like there's the energy that is around there of the history. When you start thinking about going into castles, and you can feel the history there. Again, a lot of that is just come from your mind, and your mind is thinking about all the events that have happened in that location. So a lot of that is what you put there yourself. But as for the belling, that footpath down there, I don't think I put that there myself. Definitely felt as if there's something there that didn't really want me there. Another one from Fiona. Who would I consider the most knowledgeable person of paranormal, living or past? Harry Houdini. Straight off the top of my head, Harry Houdini. Spent many years debunking spiritual circles, spinning tabletop tipping, seances. He debunked all those. Now, he actually almost got seances legally banned, because he found them all as tricks, and he exposed them all. You go back, really worth looking up Harry Houdini and what he actually done to change how people thought about the ghost stuff and the paranormal, because before him, really, everyone just believed everything was the absolute truth when it comes to the seances. When you found out you had people hiding under tables or hiding behind curtains, even Arthur Conan Doyle was pulled into it. Even with the fairies at the bottom of the garden, he got tricked into believing that was real. Now, Harry Houdini and Arthur Conan Doyle, used to go at loggerheads trying to debunk each other. And I think Harry Houdini said that if ghosts were real, he would let you know when he come back, and he still hasn't. So there is, who is the most knowledgeable person on that? I think Harry Houdini is probably the one who has done the most on the skeptic side. I'd say on the most skeptic side. Okay, another one. Have you ever been back to a location more than twice that has sparked your interest? Fobbing, yeah. Obviously, I've done a lot of the ghost walks around Fobbing. I've been in a lot of those locations more than once. Mucking, the pond down at Mucking, definitely spikes my interest. I definitely feel something weird down there. I'd like to do Golden Square again, Absolute Radio. We didn't really find anything on the night. When we come back and we went through all the audio tapes, there was some, we left tape running all over the place in the building, and on one of them we picked up some strange talking and some sounds that we know weren't no one else in the building that could have done that, and we sent them off to the sound engineer at Absolute Radio, and they analysed it, and they couldn't really clear it up that much or anything like that. But yeah, it's definitely something weird about that, even though we sort of you was on there with Christian O'Connell and Richard Firth, and it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek, the investigation, although we did serious bits of it throughout the night that would have been on the video if something really big happened. No, it was done as a fun item on their show, even though we did spend overnight with Richie and all that sort of stuff, but it was built on a plague pit. They did dig out old bodies and all that in the cellar, but EMF was so high in that building, that we couldn't really use much. All electrical equipment was packing up down there as well, and I don't know if that had anything to do with it, or people would say it was paranormal. Yeah, I'd like to go back and do that one again. Okay, yeah, so this is a nice one. Have I ever seen a ghost photo that I can't explain? One, but what I'll say about ghost photos is that after working in the photo lab for like over 10 years, I saw so many photos that people would claim as ghosts, where it was cigarette smoke, fogging on the film, it was finger marks on the film, camera straps on the film, dust on the film, or dust on the lens, gnats, insects on the lens, motion blur, out of focus, films overlapping. There's just so many that I see. Those are the general ones I'd get sent all the time, that I'd look at them and I could say no, nothing to do with them at all. There was one photo that got me. I'm going to record it, and then I'll double check that I should really post it, because I don't know how wide of reach this is. So when I was working in the photo lab, a gentleman come in with 24 rolls of film and said, you know, can you divert these for me? They're really special films, can be really, really careful. And we're like, yeah, you know, to us it's just, you know, process them just as we normally would do. We done them on the hour service, and he come back, and it was like about 5 o'clock in the evening. I think we was open up to 5:30, and he come in, got his films, he walked out and come back in, and his face was furious, and he called me down from the lab and had a go at me, saying, I doctored the photos, I doctored the photos. I was like, no, I've not touched them. And he was crying, and he was talking to a lady that worked on the counter, and started explaining what happened. And the photos were of a trip to Florida, to Disneyland, and they were meant to be taking their son, who was very, very ill, to Disneyland. Unfortunately, he passed away. And on this photo that he kept waving about was the float going past all the people standing on the road. Mickey Mouse was on the float, and there was a little boy standing next to Mickey Mouse. And this was a time where names on shirts weren't very popular, like on football shirts. Yet this kid, and I'm sure it was a Man U shirt, had a Man U shirt on, facing away, but with the surname of the family of the boy who passed away. And they're saying, this is my son. Someone superimposed my son on to the photo. There's no way we could have done that. No way we could have done that. Was it a complete coincidence that there was just someone else there with that name on that shirt at the same time? No, he said no, it's the same hair, same size, everything of their son that had just passed away before they went on holiday. They say the son had died before they could actually go on holiday. No, they called the manager down. No, the store manager come down, and the store manager, bless him, Mr. Pumphrey, and he was saying they haven't done nothing. And I think everyone else in the store just thought the guy was a bit crazy. But I'll never forget that one. That did sort of, that got to me, that one. I've always think back to that, because it was a very strange, and it gave me the shivers, you know, on that day when it happened. Okay, next one. Peter, do I believe in orbs? Orbs, dust. Again, links quite nicely into the photos and film. Again, knowing a lot about film and cameras, of how cameras work and pixelation works, and at the time, everything, how stuff happened with flashes and all that sort of stuff. Not great fascination with orbs, unfortunately. I say 99.9999999% can be explained by dust. They do reflect, especially now, more with digital cameras. I think if you're recording digital and you've got a flash on or something like that, you tend to pick up a lot more dust. And you see them moving around. Airflow, dust and airflow. You can think that you've got no dust in wherever you are, but literally you've only got, if I just move like that and I had a proper bright light on me, you would see dust and orbs floating around me. Try and do something like that, you may pick up something. I probably won't because I've got no lens light pumping away. I should put that on that way, shouldn't I? As my hat moves around. I don't know. Well, anyway, who cares? So yeah, I'm not a great lover of orbs, unfortunately. I just think that what I see a lot of is people zooming right in onto orbs, and so there's a face in there. Again, what they're doing, they're picking up on the pixelization of individual cells on film or on the cells on a digital screen. So you're going to get a blur. It's like if you zoom in on a star with a proper camera, your aperture lens will either be a diamond or a triangle or a circle. You will get that shape, that pixelation shape on your photo, and that's why we get a lot of reports of UFOs being triangular and diamond patterned, because that's the shape of the lens when people zoom in onto things. UFOs are nothing. That's enough time for another topic on So They Say, which I will be doing one. So They Say, I don't know, probably So They Say it's aliens or something like that. Probably coming up in the new year. As I say, this topic's going to be moving on. Okay, any other questions left? Where was the worst case of haunting you've ever investigated? Where's the worst case of haunting I've ever investigated? I would say the Bell Inn, but to be truthful, I look like Bad Santa, don't I? It was probably a private house that paranormal done over in Billericay. I feel if you watch this, comment if it wasn't Billericay. I can't really remember. The stories they told us in the house were horrific. And yeah, it was a place we left them. I left them equipment to film overnight because it was a private house and it was a small house. We couldn't actually stay there overnight. But I went back a week later and I gave them all my equipment to film with. Yeah, and that was sad. It was over children, over children that used to live there. And you know what? Funny enough, going back to what Fiona asked earlier about demonology. Now that was one of these cases where they thought there was a demon in the house and a poltergeist. No, there was things being thrown around the room and stuff like that. We didn't see it when we were there, but the whole horrendous situation they were convinced that they were living through is probably by far the most scary place that we've been to with a background like that, a recent background as well, because it was like still happening. Okay, why are there so many labels of the types of activity? Good question, Fiona. Why are there so many labels of types of activity? Because there's no facts to ground them on, to be truthful. That we just make them up. The people in the paranormal investigating field just make them up. I know that's not a convincing answer to anybody, but there's still no scientific proof. That's the problem. There's still no scientific proof that ghosts exist, that paranormal happens. Yet at the same time, people poo-poo all paranormal stuff, yet church and faith and belief systems are massive in this world. You know, so many people believe in Jesus and in God, which is a spirit and a God. Yeah, if you say you've seen a ghost, you are considered crazy. So you got to think of it that way. There's no expert scientific proof to actually sit down and label them correctly to what they are. So it's been left to people in the paranormal field of research to identify and label things, and that is why we get such a diverse labeling of paranormal stuff, because it's not it's like herbal medicine and medicine. No, when medicine work, when herbal remedies work, they become medicine. Yeah, before that they're just herbal remedies and home remedies. When they actually work and do cure things, they become proper medicine, and they're given a name and a label, and that's a bit like with the paranormal stuff. I hope that sort of goes around my thinking on that. Okay, I know this video is getting really long. Okay, Jane, your one. What's the funniest thing that's ever happened on an investigation? What's the funniest thing that's ever happened on an investigation? We've hit our heads a lot. Walking around in the dark is not very easy. We tend to walk into low posts and things like that. The most funniest thing, I think a lot have been sort of captured on film actually. I mean, look, we've got me scaring the life out of Phil when he was in a churchyard in Fobbing and I come through on the radio. Dave chewing a lollipop down in Mucking. Steve whacking his head continuously in Fobbing. Yeah, I think that's about it. If there's any more, I'll put into the next video that I can think of. I should have read through all the questions properly before I copied them out and stuck them on the sheet. This is a good one. Alan, and he says, have I ever captured anything on film that I believe to be paranormal? So if I say yes, that means I'm saying that ghosts exist. I will say could be. I will put a still photo up on here of the thing that we captured, but not the video that we have of it. So on the video you have on it, we'll be coming onto a separate video of Eastbury Manor. But if you look at this photo now, that's what we captured, and it was weird. It was around the legs. I can't explain it. We had it, I sent it off to, again, a guy, when we done Absolute Radio, I sent the guy off to their video analyzer. He was leaving to go to Australia. It was his last day when we was there, and I emailed him when he went to Australia, and he came back and gave me, he sent a reply back about the photo, and yeah, he couldn't work it out. He was like, I sent him the video, he couldn't work it out what it was and what could have caused it. I think that's the last question. I'll just double check. Note on that page. Should take. How many investigators? How many investigators would you take on investigation? Okay, so Throat Panel started off with me, Simon. Then later on we added Phil, Dave, Mark, Steve and Elaine. So 7, fabulous 7. So 7 we'd have. 2 of those were speechless mediums who run a circle in Brentwood. Then you had Mark, IT specialist, Dave, electrician, Phil, the policeman. Yeah. Simon Simon was a chef, is a chef. Yeah, 7. And I think that's the right good number, and it was the right mix of people as well. All come from different experiences, all had different insights into things. Even being a chef was really good when it comes to things like identifying smells and things like this. Bizarre when a chef comes in handy for things like that, because having identified the proper smell of something, it gave us an insight of what we could link up to and the history that we had. Yeah, and I think 7 was a good size for a paranormal group. We knew that we could trust each other. There's no one there trying to pull tricks. As I say, I'd worked through mediums before I got to Stephen Elaine that I totally trusted. Yeah, I thought it was a good size group. And on investigation nights, we'd often have the owners turn up and join us. And that, I think that works well. I'm not a great lover of having sort of like 50 people coming on an investigation or anything like that, or 20 people. I like it. No, they're paranormal walks. So when I do the ones like fobbing, they're paranormal walks. We're not there to do investigations. We're not there to do investigations. We're there to walk around and hear the history and the stories of the place. So that's it. So that's it for So They Say this year. So again, have a really safe and happy Christmas, and I'll see you in the new year with a new video. And give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button and share the video. Please share it. It's really important to keep the channel going. Thank you, and I'll see you in 2022. Bye.